Okay, so let's really dig into these initial sources we have. It's about a truly tragic event today, June 12th, 2025. We're talking about the crash of Air India Flight AI171.
Yeah, it's a terribly difficult situation, and things are moving fast. This deep dive, it's really focused on just these initial reports you've gathered, trying to piece together the basics, the immediate response and how the investigation is kicking off.
Exactly. We're looking at those very first details coming out about this Air India Boeing 787-8. It was the Dreamliner flying from Ahmedabad, heading towards London Gatwick.
Right. And one thing these sources make really clear, I think, is just how hard it is to get a solid picture right away after something so sudden.
Totally. That tension between the first urgent news and the clarity that comes later. So, based on these sources, what are the confirmed facts right now? They seem pretty stark.
They are. The aircraft crashed very soon after takeoff from Ahmedabad. Seems like the time was around, what, 1:38 p.m. local time?
1:38 p.m. IST. Yeah, that's what the reports say. And the impact. Tragically, it was in a residential area. It hit a doctor's hostel, specifically near BJ Medical College.
And it's also clear from the sources, a Mayday call was made very soon after getting airborne.
Which is significant, and maybe one of the most chilling details is that last signal, recorded at just 625 feet altitude.
Just 625 feet.
Yeah,
Yeah, that number really hits home. It suggests whatever happened, it happened incredibly fast, right near the ground, almost no time to react or recover.
tells you this wasn't some long emergency. Just devastating. Okay, let's talk about the human impact. The sources are quite detailed here, and it's heartbreaking. 242 people on board.
That's the number. 230 passengers, 12 crew members, and the reports on fatalities are, well, they're grim. These sources say at least 204 bodies recovered so far.
And that includes people on the ground, too, doesn't it?
Yes, the impact zone was populated, a terrible toll. And there was some initial confusion about survivors from the plane itself, wasn't there?
Right, yeah. An early report, I think, citing the Ahmedabad police commissioner, mentioned one survivor found in seat 11A, I believe.
But then, later clarifications came through, reportedly from the same commissioner, saying it looks like there were no survivors from the aircraft. It's just a really difficult example of how information shifts in that initial chaos,
Absolutely. The sources also list the nationalities, mostly Indian, but also British, Portuguese, and Canadian citizens involved. A very international flight.
Definitely. And the response on the ground, as described, sounds massive.
Yeah.
India's National Disaster Response Force, the NDRF, the Army.
Yeah, huge deployment. All emergency services right there. Ahmedabad airport operations suspended, obviously.
And Air India seems to have acted quickly, too, setting up helplines, offering waivers for other flights, that kind of thing.
Plus, the reports note the Tata Group, Air India's owner, pledging financial support. That R is 1 crore figure for families of the deceased and covering medical costs.
Important steps. Absolutely necessary. Okay, shifting to the investigation, this is crucial now. India's AAIB, the Aircraft Accident Investigation Bureau, is leading it.
And they're getting international help, which is standard practice. The sources mention the U.S. NTSB and FAA offering assistance.
Right, and also the UK's AAIB is sending a team, specifically because there were British nationals on board. That's noted in the reports.
Now, there's also some early speculation, really, in aviation circles about maybe wing flaps during takeoff.
Yeah, you see that chatter mentioned. But the sources are, quite rightly, very clear. That's just speculation at this stage. The real focus, the absolute priority for investigators, will be the flight data recorder and the cockpit voice recorder, the black boxes.
Those recorders hold the key, don't they? They'll tell the story of those final moments.
Exactly. And something several sources highlight, this appears to be the first fatal crash involving a Boeing 787 Dreamliner.
Wow. A significant and tragic milestone for that aircraft type.
It is. It adds another layer, another reason for intense scrutiny in this investigation.
The sources also touch on the wider reactions, condolences coming in from Indian leaders, the PM, the president, and internationally, too, from the UK, Canada.
Understandably, it's a global tragedy, clearly felt widely.
So, as we look at this initial flood of information from the sources, just as the formal investigation gets going, what really stands out to you? Is it the speed, the scale, or maybe that initial confusion we talked about before the facts start to harden?
I think it's that tension, really, between the immediate need to know and the slow, methodical work required to actually find out why.
Yeah, it really makes you think, doesn't it? Even now, with instant information, finding the real why behind something like this takes time, takes careful investigation, something to keep in mind as more details inevitably emerge.